All right, welcome back. And it's time for us to begin our discussions. Guess what? We're still talking about the elections that went down 2 days ago. So we're looking at 2 days after the Presidential and National Assembly elections. Now, joining us in our Lagos studio is Omoshola Deji, who is a political scientist. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you.
And very shortly, we'll be joined by another guest who is unfortunately held up in traffic, Monday traffic, right? He'll be joining us quite shortly. As soon as he gets to the studio, we'll let you know. But let's begin with you, Omoshola Deji. You were here yesterday, and the discussions had already started. 2 days after, what do you think the temperature, let's put it that way, of politicians is? Are they high fever? Are they low blood? Are they high blood? Is it high blood pressure? What really is the temperature now?
Well, it's a mixture of high and low. You know, majority of the politicians that have the results now, they are coming down. You know, the votes have humbled them. Then we still have anxiety in many parts of the country, especially where the results are still unclear, where coalition is going on, most especially for the House of Representatives and the senatorial election. So it's a mix of anxiety, and we have people counting their losses. We also have people rejoicing as well.
All right, very well said. Now, the results we've gotten so far, we've seen quite some exciting, well, let me use the word exciting. We've seen quite some upsets so far. I mean, with the likes of the Senate President not returning to the Senate, going by the result that we got. What does this mean for the Assembly?
Yeah, what it means is, regardless of who you are, you still have to renew your contract with your employer, which in this case happens to be the Nigerian masses. No matter how powerful you are, you realize that politics gives the politicians so much power in our climb. But then, no matter how powerful you are, you still need the vote of that poorest of the poorest person, that vulnerable person in the society. You still need it or her vote. For the Senate president, it just shows that power is transient. Nothing goes forever. And it's not really a shock to so many people looking at the rate of these otoge, which means enough is enough. So there's been so much political upset in Kwara State. So the result really is not a surprise. But what came as a surprise is the margin. The margin is a bit wide than necessary. Coming from somebody that is occupying the Senate seat at the moment, the godfather of Kwara politics, two-term governor of the state, and the Saraki family is the emperor. So it's really a shocking, the margin. But then what shows is that from 2019 to 2023, we won't be having Senator Bukola Saraki in the Senate, and that was the tension of whether we'll be able to emerge again as the Senate president or not. But the most significant thing about his inability to gain re-election is that it is a warning signal to other political warlords that power is transient. I think this should send out a very strong, when something like this happens, if you are in the APC, the ruling party, you would rejoice that at the end of the day, that we've been able to remove one of our major headache in this current administration, retire him, as we say. But then it sends a strong warning signal to the landlord in Babylon that power is transient. This thing shows that nobody is indefeatable. We might also have a situation in 2023, it's always a turn by turn. So it might be the turn of Tinubu also in 2023. So as much as he will be rejoicing that, okay, Saraki has been
Tinubu is not
defeated.
contesting any political position.
He is not contesting.
You know the context in
But
which
then,
you're
you know, we know that what Tinubu is what Akpabio is in Akwa Ibom. Tinubu is what Saraki is in Kwara.
Okay.
So it is an open fact. His wife, you know, contested as senator. So it's not, it should send a very strong signal to him that power is transcend. If it can happen to Saraki and you both belong to the same category, do not sleep with your two eyes open, because one day, it might be in the next 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, but surely, definitely, it will come to
Let's
you.
still stay on Senator Bukola Saraki. And I want to know, what do you think counted against him? What do you think affected his chances? Could it have been the offer robbery incident? Could it have been the fact that the APC chairman said he had no electoral values? What could have, you know, counted against him?
Well, when APC chairman Adams Oshiomhole says people don't have electoral value, it makes me laugh, because he himself knows that when people they come to the APC, they have electoral value when they are in the APC. Suddenly, when people leave the APC, they are suddenly bad. They suddenly no longer have electoral value. So that statement is a fallacious one. Bukola Saraki has electoral value in Kwara State, but what works against him is, you know, people get tired of this one-man system. It gets to a stage that you just realize that that change really is necessary. So the people of Kwara State have woken from their slumber that, okay, we really can't continue for this long, because Saraki has held on to Kwara State for the past 16 years. So it is a well-deserved breakthrough for the people of Kwara State. Then the offer robbery, I don't think that really affected his re-election chance, because if you look at it, though the opposition in Kwara State, APC, you know, would have used it to campaign against. You know, in Nigeria, we use anything to campaign, just anything, whether logical or illogical. But to any sane mind, how will somebody that is sitting on the budget of a specific arm of government, somebody that had been two-term governor, now sponsor thugs to rob a bank? He He has all these funds at his disposal as Senate president. You don't need to. There are some stages you get to that. You don't need to rob a bank. Let me give you a very good example. Everybody in Lagos knows that MC Oluomo, the popular thug, is close to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If, God forbid, if it happens tomorrow that there's a robbery in Lagos and one way or the other, MC Oluomo or his boys is fingered in the robbery incident, does it make any sense for any sane mind to now say, because MC Oluomo is close to Tinubu, so Tinubu sponsored him or told him to go and rob? Tinubu has passed that stage. He has everything at his disposal.
Are you saying that there are stages where politicians...
There are stages. The money in the bank, in the branch of a particular bank, you don't want to underestimate how rich the Nigerian politicians are. Nigerian politicians are so rich that the money they have is enough for their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, but the thing is, they are insatiable taste for wealth. So to me, it is illogical to say that a Senate president, number 3 man, the talks might be close to him, you know, they might be in his party, they might be his political hallelujah boys.
Followers, yeah.
Yes, his followers. Because you have seen him and them in a photo doesn't mean that a Senate president will now send armed robbers to go and rob a particular bank. It just doesn't make sense to any sane man. Somebody that is sitting on the budget of a whole Senate, somebody that has been two-term governor. So those armed robbers, to the best of my knowledge, as a logical reasoner, did their act based on their own wish. But one thing we must not fail to note is that politicians in Nigeria, politics is more of a war than a contest. Politicians in Nigeria are the ones responsible largely for the insecurity in Nigeria. During the election period, we do this do or die affair politics. You supply these hoodlums with weapons, give them this extravagant lifestyle. You provide them with car, money, anything they need during the election period. You use them to achieve your purpose. Then after the election, you now abandon them. Now, the weapons that you have given to them to unleash mayhem on the supporter of your opponent, you are not able to retrieve it back. Even if you are able to retrieve it back, you cannot retrieve all. And at the end of the day, in maybe 6 months to 1 year, those boys go hungry. And definitely, there is a particular spirit which is evil behind you being in possession of a sophisticated firearm and you are hungry. So I cannot rule out the fact that maybe some of those weapons used in the offer robbery had been initially supplied to those boys by maybe supporters of the Senate president or even the Senate president himself. But to now say that the Senate president personally instructed them to go and rob, I will not
so
believe
far, the
that.
court has acquitted him of any of such stuff. I just wanted to know what could have caused his not being re-elected for this position again. Now you've expanded this. You've included the likes of the former governor of Lagos State. But tell me, does this defeat, so to speak, of Saraki, does this spell the end of the era of godfatherism?
Well, it depends on how the governorship election in Kwara State goes. You know, if the governorship election is able to go in favor of the PDP candidate, and if peradventure Atiku Abubakar, candidate of the PDP, is able to win, Saraki will still be so much relevant in Nigerian politics. In short, if Atiku should win, he would even be more powerful than he is before, because he is his campaign DJ, as long as they maintain that cordial relationship. But the governorship election means a lot for Abubakar Bukola Saraki if his party should lose, because of the winner takes it all politics in Nigeria. Definitely his reign in Kwara politics might just be about to end.
Okay, let's still stay with those that won and those that lost. Speaker Dogara wins in Bauchi. That's a good one for the Speaker of the House. So why would you think that the Speaker would also be re-elected?
Well, the chance of Dogara returning as Speaker is very slim, despite the fact that he has won the election. But the thing is, it shows his political strength within his constituency. Most times, politicians, when they get to Abuja, they are so engulfed with the Abuja politics and forget about their constituency. And when you forget about your constituency, definitely Judgment Day would come. So for Speaker Dogara to have gained re-election, having moved to the PDP recently, and you know, despite the fact that the APC presidential candidate Muhammadu Buhari is strong in that particular region, shows his political strength, shows Dogara's political strength, shows his acceptability, shows how much he has been able to connect with his people. It shows that his people still want him, because it is not easy for him. It is easy for Saraki to have won in Kwara than for Dogara to have won his re-election, simply because Saraki has more ground. He calls the shot, but Dogara is even at loggerheads with the governor of the state. So for him to have really won, despite the fact that he, moved to the PDP long, it shows that the stakeholders in his constituency still owes him in high esteem, and he has been able to connect well. He has been able to keep that connection going with the majority of people in his constituent, which is a good one for him.
Now, the 8th Assembly, which is headed by Dr. Bukola Saraki, is coming to an end very soon, in a few months' time. And I want to know, how will this affect the Senate and then the National Assembly, whereby Senator Bukola Saraki was not re-elected, but we have the Speaker being re-elected? How would he affect the National Assembly, the 8th Assembly?
Well,
or even the 9th Assembly too?
Well, for this 8th Assembly, I think their tenure has ended, though not in terms of the constitutional calendar. Yeah. Because why? You would see that before the election, the Buhari presidency is no longer willing to entertain anything coming from the Saraki-led Senate. So anything the Saraki-led Senate is bringing to the table now, before the sworn-in on May 29, the Buhari presidency would not really entertain it. They would just, keep it down till after the inauguration, and they have, if they are able to have their own person as the Senate president, then expect some kind of, mockery, some time of, some form of abuses, rowdy session, because if the Senate should resume and Bukola Saraki presides, definitely you would expect some of his political foes in the Senate to throw shades at him. What is stopping somebody like Adams Oshiomhole, the APC chairman, from throwing shades at Saraki is because he wants to get the outcome of the presidential election. Expect some form of, insult and abuse from the likes of Tinubu, Oshiomhole, Festus Keyamo. We are not very matured in our political space. They would have forgotten that it is the Kwara people that spoke, not them. They are not indigenes of Kwara State. They didn't even vote there. So it is the voice of the Kwara people, not their voice. And, for somebody to now lose and, now be abusing such person, to ensure that the person is something that is absolutely unwelcome. And that is one of the things why candidates don't ever want to lose.
I would even think that will be subject to whichever way the presidential pendulum swings.
Well, it depends on the way the presidential pendulum swings, truly. But from the looks of things, it's still most likely swinging towards the side of...
Those are speculations. We'll wait for INEC to give us the results, and they'll probably know which way the pendulum has swung. So, quickly, let's look at the violence that erupted during the elections. As at Saturday, or was it Saturday? As at Sunday, we had about 16 deaths recorded, and then INEC is saying that there is no cancellation of polls in any polls, and INEC is still saying that despite disruptions, the election was peaceful.
Well, we can't say well, it depends on where you stay and the region you are in. For somebody who has lost a family in this election, you won't tell such person that the election was peaceful. For somebody who is willing, who woke up early, who took time to go and register and is willing to cast that is one vote, somebody that believes that is just single vote can make a significant impact in the winning chance of his candidate, and political talks now comes to snatch the ballot, but you won't say to such a person that the election has been peaceful. So it depends on your own outlook. It depends on what goes on in your area. But largely in the country, I think we need to improve on our electoral system. Our political consciousness are so much developed, but the democratic process itself is largely underdeveloped. We have 4 years, 4 good years to have prepared for this election, 4 years to give Nigerians an election that they can remember, an election that they can be proud of. But what do we have? We have postponement, and if you look at the effect of the postponement on people, again, it depends on how it affects you. Some people have to travel. What happens to people that are having their weddings or ceremony on the day the election was postponed to? So I believe that the election could have been conducted in a more better way than the way it was conducted.
Okay, now let's take a look at some of the other states. Now, in as much as violence was recorded in some parts of Lagos and some parts of the country, the places that were more or less hotbeds were, recorded a peaceful election. And I think the state that recorded highest number of deaths or more violence was Rivers State. In some cases, elections didn't take place in, I think, in Bonny Kingdom, Bonny local government area. Now, tell me your general overview. In as much as at Saturday or as at Sunday, the results of those, or the number of those who lost their lives are more or less 16, although we are seeing a core member also losing his life on the dailies today. Would you say that the elections went peaceful as Nigerians would have loved it?
No, it's not peaceful if we are to use the Rivers State situation to judge. Rivers State is the political crisis capital of Nigeria. Anytime there is election in Rivers State, it's like, people are going to war. So Rivers State has earned herself that, bad position of it. Now, APC is only participating in the presidential election in Rivers State, and we have that kind of, bloodshed. What if APC is now participating in the senatorial, House of Rep, and gubernatorial? How many bloodshed will we have in that particular state itself? So it shows that the political actors in that state are more conscious of power. They want the power by all means. And this is just ego between, the political lords, mainly the incumbent governor of the state, Nyesom Wike, and the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. Both of them, they believe that if they don't have control of the state, that they are weak. But they have forgotten that whether they like it or not, election is a contest, and it remains a contest. I would have loved a situation if the people of Rivers State can probably, vote against both the APC and PDP for peace to be restored in the state. Because if APC is not participating in the election, except the presidential, and we have that kind of bloodshed, please just imagine it, that, okay, Tonyeko of the APC is now allowed to be on the ballot against Nyesom Wike. Imagine the kind of crisis. If politics is about service, why do you want to win by all means? If the premium on politics is being reduced, that is, to me, the solution to all this political crisis. Let's make politics less lucrative. Let's make it unattractive. Let's make it like a situation whereby you go there, you are going there to serve. Let's reduce, the influence of political power in Nigeria. Let's bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Let's make rule of law a must. If all these things are in place, if everybody, whether you are rich or poor, powerful or powerless, if you run foul of the law, you'll be brought to book. If the difference between the rich and the poor is reduced, the wide gap is reduced to the barest minimum. And if we make politics unattractive, you will see that majority of these politicians that want to kill themselves is so saddening that majority of them are political investors.
But is it high time we hold these people responsible? Because if you look across some states, you notice that, like in Rivers State, for example, I would say there are two godfathers. The former governor of Rivers State, that's Rotimi Amechi, who is now the Minister of Transportation, and then the current governor, Wike. And also other states, for example, in Lagos, we have Tinubu, and we also have Bode George. In Oyo, we have Alawo Akala, we have Rashid Ladoja, we have Abiodun Ajimobi. Right? These people are key politicians in the state. These are people that draw people to themselves. In Ogun State, we have Kashamo, we have the former president, Obasanjo, we have Segun Oshoba, we have Benga Daniel, the former governor, we have Amosun. Now, when we have crises in states, especially during elections, how can, because you can't really take a hold on the hoodlums, but the political godfathers that, that they are affiliated to. So how can we stop this? Because I think it should start from them and not from the bottom.
Well, apart from making politics unattractive, the masses, majority of Nigerians are poor. And when you are poor, when you are extremely poor, your defense is absolutely weak. Then when you are not so educated, all this half education, you really don't know your left from your right. If a political thug or a miscreant, hoodlum, street urchin, if any one of them knows that the inefficiency of these politicians is part of what contributed to what made him a hoodlum, he will be the first person to stone that politician that, hey, you are the one behind my problem. So, but a situation whereby we have people that are very poor. When you are poor, your major concern is what you are going to eat next, and in this our kind of society whereby tomorrow is really not sure, there's no pathway to success. You really can't give birth to a child and you expect that, okay, there is a pathway for this child to be successful. No social incentives. We have so many people that are brilliant, but they don't have sponsorship and their parents are poor. Education fees is rising every day. All these things, at the end of the day, have a kind of like bad effect on the political orientation of the average citizen itself. So the politicians continue to put them in poverty, make sure they are less educated in order to call the shot. And as long as this trend is happening, and Nigerians themselves, they are not really eager to sack this status quo, yes. Because we have 71 presidential candidates, over 90 political parties, but Nigerians are still obsessed with this APC, PDP, APC. Shows that if you have 91 choice and you are still going for one or two, it shows that you yourself, you are not making use of the best opportunity you have to have delivered yourself.
We'll continue this conversation shortly, but let's take a commercial break and we'll return shortly. Stay with us.
You say something, you say no.